Hello and welcome. Today we have a fantastic conversation for you. We will be talking with Dr. Rani Thanacoody, who is such a wonderful, well-rounded, exciting person. She is a hypnotherapist. She is a breathwork coach. She is a Mars versus life and relationship coach. She is astrologer. She is a life force compassion practitioner and a tarot reader. She is a wonderful person who cares so much about gratitude and healing and recovering from trauma. And we touch on a variety of different things. She takes us on her journey of her life and finding love and compassion and connecting with herself and healing with herself and now doing this for other people. So I'm sure you will find this conversation as insightful and inspiring and really heartwarming and touching as we did. So without any further ado, welcome to Dr. Rani.
But before we get on with our conversation with Dr. Rani, I just want to remind you about our Patreon account where you can find us at Into Your Life. This is a community and a place where we will be putting all our gold nuggets and having that extra bonus content. And moving forward, we'll be having conversations with myself and Lenka, as well as a place where you can connect with us and get to know us better. We would love for you to become part of this community and for part of our journey moving forward. Come and join us, get those gold nuggets, and come and be part of something special and find ways that you can have more life in your life. But now that I've sent that reminder, let's carry on with our conversation with Dr. Rani.
Hi there and welcome. Today we have a wonderful guest here with us. We have Dr. Rani Thanacoody here with us. She is a hypnotherapist, breathwork coach, and so much more. And we'll explain everything. But without any further ado, hi Rani, welcome.
Hello, Natalie and Lenka. So wonderful to be speaking to both of you today and to your audience. I'm really excited. I've been waiting for that since summer, before summer. So happy to be here. Thank you for this invitation. Very, very grateful to be here.
It's been a long time coming. So please tell us and tell our listeners a bit more about you, who you are, what you do, and what maybe brought you on the path that you're on currently.
Yes. So my name is Rani, like you just said. You pronounce it really well. And I am located in the UK. I am the founder of Amazing You Therapy, where I do hypnotherapy, like you mentioned, life and relationship coaching, astrology, tarot reading, compassion session, and energy healing session. And it's very interesting because I was not on that path for a very long time. I got into that path about, I would say, 4 years ago, since the pandemic. My current job is a full-time academic and I teach human resource management at university in Nottingham. And I have been also co-authoring books with, I'm sure you would have heard of Dr. John Gray, the one very well-known Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. So I've co-authored a book with him and our 30 other coaches from that community. And my chapter in that book is called Love and Coach. It's called The Best Investment You Will Ever Make. And I co-authored other books where I shared my journey of having experienced physical abuse as a child. And that book is called Bare Naked and Beautiful. So I share my story. And I have been on so many podcasts. I have my own podcast called Amazing You Podcast and YouTube channels. And I do sessions online with my clients since I've been on that journey of remembering who I am. And it's still on that journey of discovery. It's a great journey so far. And I have also published in magazines called it's for another community, which is called Diamond Beauties Forever. So I am part of that community. I write regularly for them. And I have been nominated among the top 100 women entrepreneurs by Global Women, which I am part of that community as well. So it's been an amazing journey, I would say. I have been doing things, all these things that I would never have thought because I was very shy. You won't believe it. You know, as children, we are not shy. We are very bubbly. We are very happy. But as we grow up, we experience different kind of life experiences. It can be like small traumas, and that's when we start to shut our voices down and we suppress our emotions and our feelings. And that's what happened to me. Since the age of 4, that was a big event for me, traumatic event, when my grandmother passed away. And I shared that story in the upcoming book called I Am So Glad You Left Me, where I share my journey from shyness to wholeness. So that was really an event that changed my life completely. I shut my emotions. I became very withdrawn, and I felt very, very lonely at the age of 4, isolated, though I had my parents, but for me it was a big loss of the person whom I love most and who understood me. And as I grew up, I felt alone, lonely, couldn't understand where it was coming from. But those kind of trauma, you know, when you suppress those emotions, there are other, I would say, other things that come up in life that make the issue bigger. And what happened is I got abused as a child, physically abused, just soon after my grandmother passed away. And that was another traumatic event. So I kept it all inside, didn't tell much to my parents until after 2 or 3 weeks. And my parents took action and changed my school. But then the things happen. It's like my energy is not an energy that is whole. It started to get wounded. So those wounds on the around the body, so there are holes happening. So if you don't heal those holes, other holes will add up. And that's what happened to me. I was bullied at school by a teacher. So it started more holes adding. So it's like the disconnection more with myself and with others as well, because I could never connect with anybody. Even if I was in the most beautiful crowd with the loving people, I felt always empty, sad, not knowing where all this was coming from. And I was not talkative at all. I would just listen at school. At school, I was the shyest student in the classroom. I would not speak, and I thought it was a great thing, you know. I didn't know. And my teacher would write in my report book, she's a very polite and quiet girl. And I thought it was something good that I was doing, to be quiet. And I noticed my classmates, some of them were very loud. They would talk, they would get punished. They didn't care. But for me, being quiet, being shy was a way to get the approval. Because as children, we have some beliefs, we become people pleaser, and we start to act differently. So for me, it was, without me knowing, like everybody else, we all have beliefs. We believe that we are not enough. It's not available to me. I cannot connect. For me, I cannot connect was a big belief for me that I developed as a child. And as I grew up, I went to uni. It was all right, but I always find that with authoritative figures, I didn't get along really well. They couldn't understand me. It's like there was a barrier. With teachers, they didn't like me very much because my energy was such a damage, was so wounded. They could feel it. Like we can feel people's energy when people are happy, when anybody is sad. We don't know, but we feel that person, there's something going on. And I was that person, and I started going to university. I noticed the discrimination against me, the harassment by some supervisors. And I started working. It got worse and worse and worse. It's like it got worse for me to address those issues, but I didn't know. So the issue were getting bigger and bigger. And in addition of that, I started to have a stomach ache. So I used to have a little bit of bloating as a child, but as the issue became bigger, I started to develop irritable bowel syndrome that I discovered in my 30s, that I was suffering from that, because the body was in constant stress. It's a survival mode that I've been living, and when the body is stressed, we know everything goes to the different organs, and the biggest the organs that get affected is the digestive system. So I suffered from irritable bowel syndrome, and it became worse and worse. And in 2014, around 2010, I started getting bullied in the UK by people in the academic environment, by supervisors. And I was asking myself, where is that coming from? I started to question things. The bullying continued from one job to another. So I found myself leaving jobs every year and a half. So it was not only leaving jobs, it was relocating as well, my whole house, my whole place. So it was really tiring moving around. I've moved about 6 or 7 jobs. In 2014, I started asking more questions. And in 2016, I moved to another job, got bullied again. That was the biggest one. This one I had to leave. I had to resign from the job because so many top people were involved, and it wouldn't get better. It would get worse. I left and I went back to Mauritius. And that's where I'm originally from. And from there, I started to ask myself questions. It was very shocking to my system, because I never expected to leave the UK. I've been to the UK about that time for about 8-9 years. And I had to leave. And it was at a point where I thought I would get the permanent residency. And that shattered everything for me. I wouldn't get it anymore. I had to stay a certain number of years. So I went home very, very in a state of shock, I would say, because I had to pack everything and leave within 2 months. Everything, ship everything. And nobody could understand what was going on with me. My family was wondering, what's wrong with you? You can't stay in jobs. There's something wrong with you. And I was so surprised. I say, I wish I could get the support, but that wasn't what I was getting. I was getting the blame and what was happening. So I sat quietly for a long time, did meditation during those time more than usual. I've been always meditating, but I did a bit more at those times because I wasn't working. And in my quiet time, I heard that inner voice telling me, you need to go back to the UK. And I didn't know I have to go back because I looked for a job in my country. I couldn't get a job. So I say, okay, I started looking for the jobs to come back to the UK. And it wasn't long. I was working. It became my full-time job, applying for jobs. And I came back to the UK, got the job. I came back in 2018, and I am still in that current job after 6 years. So I am really proud that having done the inner work since 2020, I now stay in that job. It's been 6 years, it's my 7th year. And if that bullying hadn't happened, those bullying years, I would not have come back to the UK. And now when I look back, at that time in 2018, when I came back, I knew in my heart, I knew there was something else that I would do, but I didn't know. I had no idea. And when I started that job in the UK, the pandemic hit. That's when I started the self-development journey. I really went into courses after courses. That's why I train in all those modalities to help myself. And now I can help clients and really to understand the root cause of those bullying. And I understood it. Now I understand where the root cause was coming. It's from those childhood traumas that I had to heal. And it's been a wonderful journey. It's not an easy journey. It's a lot of crying to let go, to release all those emotions. I would say I have cried for 3 years in every sessions I had. I never cried like that in my whole life. But I feel much better. Now I don't cry that much. But now if I cry, it's more feeling joy, feeling happiness. Those are the cry. Because I felt my heart center was blocked for years because of that those childhood trauma. I felt there was something stuck in my chest. And I've been still working on me, but I feel it's more open. And that prevented me as well from finding love, from finding a partner. So I am much more open. I'm more happy with myself, not feeling depressed, but more joy, feel more alive in my body, like I never felt in my life. It's like super exciting, the things I am doing. It's like my life has changed 360 degrees. Yeah. So that's my story.
Wow, what a story. And thank you so much for sharing. I think it's important for our listeners to really know the background and to understand where you're coming from and what led you to where you are right now. And one of the reasons why we have actually connected is because I know that one of the modalities that you're trained in is RTT, Rapid Transformational Therapy. And that's such a unique, very popular, but unique approach to therapy. We had people talking about hypnotherapy before. We had people discussing healing trauma and, going back and using different classical psychology, psychotherapy, talk therapy, all sorts of modalities to allow ourselves to heal. But RTT is something that we haven't had anyone yet to allow us to explore a bit more this modality. And I was wondering if you wouldn't mind telling our listeners a bit more about, we can obviously touch on more of the modalities and I would love to explore how we then bring it all together. But this is one that is on my mind. Like, I'm so intrigued. I've listened to some of the books and podcasts from the creator. But also I want to know how then someone really applies it in their practice with themselves, with their clients, how they experience it.
Oh, thank you so much, Lenka and Natalie. This is the most powerful technique for me to help me. And RTT, what it is really a cutting edge therapy, I would say, because we go to the root cause of the issue. In hypnosis or in relaxation, if people don't like hypnosis, it's just a relaxation of the nervous system. And we help the client to relax. And we access the part of the subconscious mind, which is the biggest computer on earth that have stored all this information. Because if you are in your conscious state, you won't remember. You know, Natalie and Lenka, I couldn't remember anything in my childhood. But when I did Rapid Transformational Therapy, I could access those parts that were hidden in my subconscious. So it's about remembering what we suppressed, what was keeping us stuck, all these emotions. So it is one of the most powerful tools from a lot of modalities that I have heard, because for me it has been life-changing. It has helped me to get rid of the irritable bowel syndrome, so now I can eat more. It has helped me to build my confidence. This is a great thing, and I am very, very grateful for Marisa Peer, because I had sessions live with her and online and face to face. I have been reading her books. Her therapy has changed my life. What her therapy is about, it's a talk therapy, yes, but she's a very wise lady, I would say, because she has been able to put together different modalities. So into a process that help the client to access those parts. So she does a bit of healing using the vortex, healing vortex. We work with the inner child a lot. We go back to those scenes of the child, of the adult. And it is such a powerful tool because I have had clients who go to their past lives. So it shows you how powerful it is. Because very often our past life hold information if we see repetitive pattern to what is happening to us. So she did an extraordinary job of putting all those different modalities in her own way together. And we do a bit of chakra healing in that as well. So these are very long sessions, I would say 3 hours. But when the client come out of those sessions, oh my God, they feel transformed because the transformation is very quick. It's not like other methods. That's why we call it rapid transformational therapy. It is like mind-blowing, this therapy. After the next day, the clients start taking action, feel more confident. I give you an example. I had a lady, she had cancer, and she told me, I had a fear of having cancer. I had it before, but I still have that. She said she was having that fear. I say, okay, but she didn't tell me she was not feeling well before the session. So we did her session, and she told me during her session, she felt the glands, it was in her throat, she could feel it dissolving. And after that, she told me, then after a few days, she told me she was taking more action in her life. Her relationship has improved with her daughter and her husband. They were getting along much better. She stopped procrastinating and started moving her life forward. She started learning to drive. For 15 years, she couldn't drive a car. So she started taking action, and that is so beautiful to see how they transform quickly. Because that lady, her life was stuck and she was at a point of not knowing what to do anymore. So that transformation is super fast and you see people life transforming. I had another client recently, a gentleman, because I do men and women, whoever. I do also children with the permission of the parents. Children after 9 years old. So some for passing exams. I had people for fear of driving, for anxiety, physical illnesses, low self-esteem. And that gentleman, he came to me, he said he's been to university, but he never felt confident into talking to the public. For his job, even for his job, he told me he doesn't feel confident. After the session, so we did the session, he really felt how deep it was, and I give clients, that's part of the hypnotherapy. After the 3-hour session, we give the client a personalized audio. So using some neuro-linguistic programming. That's why I tell you we do so many modalities in that. So we give them some new words so that they can listen, rewire the brain, reprogram the brain, recondition the brain, and that help in the healing. So it's not only the session, but after the session, the client continues to do the work, and that's helped the healing much faster, because as healers, we don't heal any person. We give the clients the tools, the techniques to heal themselves, and they have to be open in those sessions to really open up, to let go of all those emotions, because these are emotions that are trapped, that are causing us to behave in different ways and not to be our fullest potential. So that gentleman, after the session, so after 2 months, I called back. We always have a follow-up, but because I went on holiday, so we caught up after 2 months, usually after 1 month. After 30 days, they listen to the audio, we do a follow-up. And I was really excited to listen to him and say, tell me what has happened. He said he got a promotion in his job. And he didn't think he would get anything because they told him in so many job interviews, he doesn't have a good personality to talk. So he wasn't getting more higher position, but he got a promotion in his job. He got an award. He was very excited. He moved home. So he was procrastinating, not doing anything in his life. So he moved home. He told me recently. I say, wow, that's a lot for a couple of months. I say, you have to be so proud of yourself. And his story was a very sad story. It's about he had a lot of childhood trauma and a lot of physical, emotional abuse because he come from a different country and not being understood as a child. But his life has changed. I told him, you have changed your life, you know? So this is to share with you two recent cases of how powerful the rapid transformational therapy is, because Marisa always say, feel the feelings until they are no longer required to be felt. That's when we know the emotions are gone. Those trap emotions are gone. So it's about, I tell clients, let go, feel it. It's okay to feel the pain because after that you'll feel much better. So feel the pain. We work with the body a lot and we find out and they release it. They do the work. I just guide them. So it's when we do those sessions, I feel I am receiving healing too. I love those sessions because it helps me to heal different parts of myself. You know, even if we have, as coaches and therapists, even if we are helping others, we are still on that healing journey because there's always a layer somewhere, you know, somewhere a small layer, and we are here to discover who we are. So this is what rapid transformational therapy is about.
Thank you so much for explaining it. It's something that, really resonates with me because it is the rapid process in it. Because sometimes with classical talk therapy, with cognitive behavior therapy, with NLP, with lots of modalities, it is a long journey. You come to the office, you come to the clinician, you come to the professional, and you may be going there for weeks and months and years and only make slow progress. And that's what fascinated me when I heard first about RTT. It was like how fast it can go. And yes, you mentioned that maybe the sessions are longer, that maybe you will intensely spend 3 hours together. But after this one session and a little bit of a follow-up, the change starts happening. It's not like you have to go week on week on week to therapy and talk about it and get little bit and little bit and little bit, and still 3 years later feel like you have not progressed much. So I find it so fascinating. And what even resonated more with me was when you said that you were there as a guide, as a just to empower people, because we have the innate power to heal ourselves. It just comes down to our beliefs. And that is a huge topic for me. It's the power of like what we believe in, we manifest it. And I know that Marisa has a book that is all about tell yourself a better lie, because it's pretty much about how we change the inner narrative and how we can, persuade ourselves to believe in a new vision and a new life, and how we then manifest it into being. And what I also find fascinating, what role in this healing actually plays gratitude. And I also know that you are very passionate about how we can spark change through gratitude. So I would love to ask you a bit about, could you tell us about, what is your perspective? What is your take on how gratitude plays a role in healing for you?
Oh my God, I can't explain how gratitude has changed my life. I would say it's been huge in the way I have experienced gratitude, and because gratitude is not only about Thanksgiving. We are not far from Thanksgiving, and people celebrate and give thanks to the family, to the food, but gratitude is something very simple. It's about two words: thank you. It's about being grateful for everything that you have now, everything that you are doing, every person you meet. And the more grateful you are, the more you are in that frequency of abundance, because you are open to giving and you are open to receiving. And gratitude has shifted, I would say. I was listening to a podcast by to a talk by Sandy Gallagher. She is in the Proctor Gallagher Institute with Bob Proctor, and she was talking about gratitude. And I remember I listened to her talk. I think I could recite every words of it so many times on gratitude. And she explained in that how a businessman that she met came to her about saying that his business was going bankrupt. And with the power of gratitude, doing gratitude on a daily basis, how he turned his business around and became very successful. So that said something to me when I listened to that. And I started practicing it. I say, let me give thanks to everything in my life. Everything that I have, even if I don't have, I just give thanks. But the most important, because we live in a world where it's so easy to complain about everything. We've been programmed like that to complain, because that keeps us in a low frequency. When we complain, we live in anxiety and in fear. But gratitude is the highest altitude, same as love frequency, because the more we are grateful, the more we attract great things, abundance in our life, and it's vibrate the same energy as love. So that was really interesting. I started to practice it, I would say, more the past year. I started to really put it into practice and be grateful for everything, even a difficult situation. You won't believe it. I share something with you. So gratitude, it helps to attract what you want. It helps you to manifest as well, because when it's only in the present that you can manifest what you want in the future. So, and it helps you as well to shift from a negative thought to a positive emotion. Because when you are grateful, you are happy. You emanate joy and peace and happiness. So I will share with you an experience that I had. I think it was March this year. I was going to a networking event, and it was early morning. And as you know, the train in the UK these days very often get delayed. So I was going there, and I knew on that I was still in Nottingham, and they said that the train will be delayed by 45 minutes. I said, okay. I said, that's the time, let me practice gratitude, because I am on the platform waiting. So I started looking at the sky, finding something good in that moment, because somebody else could have a fit, started to get angry and started to swear, and So I stayed positive, and I look at the sky. I say, wow, what a beautiful day. What a blue sky we can see. And what a lovely weather this morning. It was very warm and lovely weather. So I started to look at the positive and be grateful for those moments. And got on the train. I reached there after an hour. So I informed the group, I'll be there. My train has been delayed. But I reached there an hour later. And I joined the event, and I was still grateful. I stopped on the way, treated myself to a hot chocolate and a croissant because I woke up so early, 5 o'clock, to catch that train. So I was hungry. So treated myself, got to the event, and I sat there. And then one of the organizers, she came to me, she said, because usually you have to be on a higher membership to speak to their event. But I was on a normal membership. So she approached me and said, you are going to speak today. I have not prepared anything. On the spot, you don't think you'll be asked to speak. So I say, okay. And I said, yes. I do. I try to say yes to everything now. By thinking how much, but I say yes. I used to say no before, so I've changed my language, how I talk to myself and how I see things. And I gave the talk. It was very interesting because after I gave the talk, there was a lady who sat next to me that I met in a different event. And that lady approached me at the end. She told me, would you like to speak at our conference? And she didn't ask anybody else. She came to me and said, if I want. I said, yes, I will. So she invited me, and I will speak at her event on 18th of November, which is a huge 400 people conference, and I'm really excited about that. It's like, when you stay in that frequency of gratitude, without you knowing, you bring the abundance towards you. So this has changed my life. It has changed my thoughts on that moment, because I'm not in a negative mode. I changed the negative thinking straight away. And that's the fastest way if you want to change, or anybody want to change their negative thoughts. Just be grateful. And that's how I started it. Since I've been doing that, I have a gratitude journal since I started listening to Sandy Gallagher. I just used to write in my gratitude journal morning and evening. But now since last year, I started being grateful for everything. That's how I changed it. But it started slowly as a simple exercise. Gratitude, you can start something very simple. Just 5 things you are grateful for every morning. That's the thing that I do still. Before I take my mobile, before I do anything, I just open my eyes and start thinking of the 5 things I'm grateful for. In my bed, I just open my eyes and start to thank everything. And very important is to thank our body. It is something that we don't thank enough. We are so hard on our body. We tend to criticize our body. This is not good, this is not good, I don't have this and that, and compare with somebody else. But I think it's very important to appreciate that body, because without that body, you and I wouldn't be here. We are more than the body. Yes, we are physical being, a spiritual being, but we need that body to do things. And that realization came to me when I had, like, around March this year, like what we call a near-death experience. And in that, I asked people, what is that I had? It was during my dream that I saw that I left my body and I was a bubble on another planet. I had no hands, no feet, just a bubble. And when I realized that I was there, I couldn't do anything. I came straight back. I had that feeling of coming back in my body. And people were telling me, you had a near-death experience in your dreams. It doesn't need to happen when you are moving around. So that made me realize how important it is to be grateful for that beautiful body, because that body allows us to do so many things. So love your body, be grateful for each part, your hair, your tummy, your breasts, your butt, whatever things you don't like, start to be grateful for it. So this is what I would like to share about gratitude. Yes. Yeah.
Wow. I mean, I'm hear you with gratitude. Gratitude is so important, and it's something that is often, it's one of these sort of phrases or catchphrases or words that does get thrown around a lot without actually really realizing the power behind gratitude. It's all very well, be more grateful or have more gratitude, but what does it really mean? And you've really gone into that, really explained the power of gratitude, and thank you for that, because gratitude is something that I'm learning and realizing how powerful it is. And it's something that we've spoken about with previous guests and, just myself and Lenka. So it's just really nice to hear your experience of how you've really embraced gratitude and what it's given you and shown you and guided you in different ways. So it's always nice to hear people's journeys and people's experiences, because everybody is so unique and so different, and we have such different perspectives and ways of being, and it's just lovely to hear the difference, because we sit in ourselves and it's all me, but when we hear other people's stories, it's like, oh yes, that's worked, so let me see if I can embrace it, or what can I learn from somebody else. So really I love the way that you describe gratitude. It's really beautiful. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you so much, Natalie. I think the more, whatever modality, whatever technique, just put it into practice every day. That's what I would say. That's what I did with every modality I use. If the thing is, I put it into practice. I don't wait, I just do it. And that's how you can shift your life, by doing these spiritual, these self-care routine, these practices. Yeah. And I want to share a quote with, if you would allow me, with your audience on gratitude. And I found that it's beautiful. I read it from the book, I think it's The Power, and it says, be grateful for everything you have received in your life now. Be grateful for everything you are receiving in your life now. And be grateful for what you want in your life as though you have received it. So this is a quote by Rhonda Byrne in the book, The Power.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that.
You're
And
welcome.
it's just it's wonderful to hear your story of where you've come from, like you said, with the bullying and I love how you describe that it felt like you had these holes in you, because a lot of it did resonate with me. Is I went through a lot of jobs, and the bullying and the having to be quiet and not feeling heard and just feeling disconnected from myself. And when you were describing those holes and everything, it's like, that makes sense. And it's just it's a beautiful way that you have described it, just for our listeners who are maybe in that place still, where they are there, and to have heard how you've come so far. You left the country and came back. That in itself is really powerful, because Mauritius is not just down the road. I mean,
Yeah.
it's it's at the bottom end of Africa.
Yes.
It's far, and yes, it's a big thing to move country. I mean, I think all three of us have done it. And it's not like just moving to a new flat or a new house down the road or in the next town. It's a big thing. But then to have that courage to listen to yourself, because how many times do we ignore ourselves? And you actually listened to yourself and said, go back to the UK. I mean, it would have been so easy to go, hell no, it's too expensive, to this, to that. And you could have made a lot of excuses not to. But to actually have that courage to go back to essentially that place that you ran from because you weren't happy, because you were just going from job to job. And I think that's something that's really powerful. And I really want our listeners to hear that, is that because we run from something, it doesn't mean we can't face it again and actually run towards it. And I think the way you explain that is very powerful, because quite often we see things as failure, and then we try and ignore it because we feel like a failure. But yet failure are beautiful lessons that we learn. And what can we learn from it, and how can we shift and change it to get something from it? So from you leaving the UK and going back to Mauritius, listening to yourself and essentially coming back, is learning from the lessons that you've learned, and then saying, okay, how can I make a difference? What is needed to make a difference? Moving country is not always something that will be that, I guess, that proverbial straw that breaks the camel's back or that creates that shift. But maybe that's what you needed, to actually physically move, because moving house and towns wasn't working. You had to physically ship everything, go back to Mauritius. And it's almost like regroup and say, okay, now what? How do I start again? And that, I think, is a really powerful tool and a powerful bit of knowledge to share with our listeners, because it doesn't matter how far you go or how you feel at the bottom, is we can always pick ourselves up. We can always go back on the path that we were on, in a way, and doing it in a different way. Because as you said, you're now in this job for like 6 years. because you've learned stuff and you've had help along the way. You've had like hypnotherapy, you've studied all these and had the therapists and the coaches and that helping you. So it's not about doing it on your own. It's about finding the right help and finding ways that you can really learn who you are. Because as you said, you had all these holes and you didn't connect with yourself. And when you do physically keep quiet, you start to keep quiet to yourself, and then you're not heard, you don't hear yourself, and like you said, you were a quiet, polite child, which sounds nice. How many times are we told to keep quiet and settle down and shush, and children are seen, not heard. We hear all these things, but we lose that voice. We lose our voice. We lose our voice emotionally, psychologically, physically as well sometimes, because we won't say anything. We keep quiet. So I love how you shared that with us and with our listeners. And it's doesn't matter where you come from. What matters is that you keep going. And this is one of the reasons why we created Into Your Life, because how can you find more life in your life? It's not, well, X, Y, and Z happened to me, therefore I'm nothing. No, X, Y, and Z happened to me. What can I do with it or about it or from it? What can I get from it? And your story is really what this podcast is about, is finding that more life in one's life. And you've used gratitude, you've used the RTT, you use hypnotherapy, you use such different modalities, you listen to podcasts, you're reading books, and it just shows that it doesn't matter where you're from. What matters is the journey that you're on and creating that more life in your life. You mentioned that you're starting to like yourself and starting to know yourself, and you use something, you said something like about remembering you and the bare naked you. I mean, these are all ways that you're celebrating who you are and who you've become. So I just really wanted to go into that a little bit, because I think that's so powerful for myself and Lenka as well, but for our listeners to really know that where they are right now is okay, and they can choose how they can move forward and create that more life in one's life, and however they want to do it. But gratitude would be a great way to start, especially the way you described it. So I just wanted to go into that to really reiterate that in a way. But one of the things that you mentioned earlier is, you said something about the compassion therapy, I think it was. You said you did. I'd love to hear a little bit more about that, because compassion is not something that is, I don't know, very popular at the moment, I guess, for ourselves and to others. I mean, you just have to look around and see what's going on, and there's like, whoa, what happened to compassion? But also, how many times do we beat ourselves up? Oh, I shouldn't have done that. Oh, you silly. Oh, come on, stop being such a fool. Oh, such an idiot. We beat ourselves up for anything. So I'd love for you to just explain a little bit about this compassion therapy that I think you said you were doing or you had received. So can you share something on that?
Yes, Natalie, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to share a bit more about that. But something else you mentioned a bit earlier, when you talk about the fears, facing the fears, and I think that's very, very important to face the fears and go back to the place where we have been wounded, because that's where we can get the healing if we look at other ways around it. And I think it's not about running away from problems. I used to, when I have a problem, run away from it. But until I face it, then the problem goes away. Then there are solutions, So that's what I would say. And you were asking me about the compassion session. Yes. Oh, I love compassion. It is after hypnotherapy. I wanted to learn another modality, and that is called compassion. I think it's called something about compassion. It's called compassion session, compassion something. And it is a beautiful modality because I found it very powerful for me to shift emotions because it goes another layer. We work with the inner child, and I had a few clients who told me the compassion was even as powerful as the hypnotherapy. Because what is interesting with the compassion, when we live in a state of trauma and survival mode of fear, we are not compassionate to ourselves because we are disconnected to who we are, our true self, and we are disconnecting with people too. It's like we are like zombie, just living, doing things, and on autopilot. But when you start to heal yourself and go through different journeys, that's when you start to realize that we need to give compassion to that little child inside of us who has experienced so much. And this is what we do during the compassion. It is not under hypnosis. So the person is in their conscious state and they can really see, they give compassion to that little child, to themselves, to those events in their life. And that session is much shorter, which is an hour and a half. So it's very powerful to shift things because when you start to accept yourself and to accept that little child and give that child not only the acceptance but the love, that shifts so many things very quickly because every session, every modality, it's about going back inside of us, accepting ourselves for whatever has happened and not beating ourselves up, but also letting go, because in those sessions we are able to let go of the feelings, the emotions, the thoughts, and let go of what other people have done to us as well. It's a lot of forgiving, of letting go, but those compassion sessions, it's about giving to that little child who has been so wounded the compassion that maybe that child never got from people around them, mostly when we experience physical abuse, but it's for any issues. When we start to give compassion to ourselves, that's when the healing happens, because compassion is love, and it's only through love that we can heal. That's what I would say. It's another very powerful modality. Yeah.
And it's such an important one, being kind to oneself, showing ourselves that compassion, because I think the saying is charity begins at home. And if we are able to show compassion and kindness to ourselves, it's easier to show it to others. And I think that is really important, because when we show compassion to somebody else, the hope is that they then receive it and see what it's like or experience it, that they then start to become more compassionate. And I'm not saying people are not compassionate, but as you said, we are so busy being zombies and in life and getting on, getting up, going to work, getting on, doing your marketing, going on social media, showing the world how brilliant you are. It's this constant da-da-da-da-da. And then where's that moment of like, oh, wow, that person looks sad, or, oh, I'm really tired. How can I just be nice to myself instead of, just trying to push through and just keep going, come on, you can do it. And just showing ourselves and others around us just that little bit. So thank you for sharing that, because it is important, and it is something that is really needed more and more in this world. I mean, I'm talking about, this is my opinion, but I just think that it is needed. Life is hard, but why not just be kind to ourselves, be kind to those around us, show some compassion? And it doesn't have to be because somebody's tripped on the pavement. It can just be, can I offer you a cup of tea? You look tired, or something, just that little bit. So thank you. That's really, I think sort of close that circle in a way, you know, with the RTT, with the
Yes.
gratitude, with compassion, and everything that you've shared with us. It's been wonderful to just experience your energy.
Oh, thank you.
Experience
Thank
you.
you. Thank you so much to both of you. And I would like to add something on compassion. You know, I was a compassionate. When we have trauma, we can't be compassionate. And I learned a lot from Dr. Gabor Mate. And he said to look at ourselves with curiosity. You know, not to judge ourselves, but to just look at ourselves with curiosity in whatever has happened and be kind to ourselves in those moments. So, yeah, I think compassion is so needed for ourselves so that, and then we can feel the compassion within ourselves, then we can feel compassion for others. And that's what all the spiritual teachers have come for. If you look at Jesus, how compassionate he would just watch but not hit back at people, you know. He was very compassionate. They came to teach us about love, and compassion, it's love that we need for ourselves and love for others, because love is the most powerful energy on earth, yeah, in this universe.
And you mentioned one of our favorite authors. We've both read his books, and yeah, Gabor Mate, we do love him. So thank you for that. And I think also with compassion, there's no judgment, because you cannot judge and be compassionate at the same time. So I think compassion, you know, showing that compassion is a way of not judging, and to receive it is, there's no judgment. So thank you. I really love that.
You're welcome. I've still got work to do to cultivate that more, you know. It's like we are work in progress, and yeah.
We all work in progress. We all can strive to
Yes.
be better versions of us, I think, and we're always learning.
Yeah.
I love the thing about learning is there's no end to learning. We're going to just be learning for the rest of our lives, and I'm quite happy with that. And just find new ways of being, I think, is important. So this is our space where we get the gold nuggets. Hop onto our Patreon account to get access to this amazing gold nugget. Now, if our listeners have been listening and they really want to connect with you, they want to be within your circle, they just want to find you, listen to your podcast or your YouTube channel or on social media, where can people find you?
Yes, thank you, Natalie. So there are different places they can find me. They can just go on YouTube and type Amazing You by Dr. Rani, and they will see the videos. I am on Buzzsprout, Podbean, Spotify, and the podcast over there in each of these platforms. It's called Amazing You by Dr. Rani. So I am on Instagram. They can find me at Rani, Rani Thanacoody, Thanacoody, or I've got two accounts on Instagram, or they can look at Thanacoody, Thanacoody, Rani. And I've got two websites, so they can get some free gifts on this website, which is MarsVenusCoachRani.com. Over there, they have a quiz on relationship that they can try and see what they find out about themselves. They have also my web links. I have my ebook there about love and coaching. If they don't want to buy the hard copy, they can go there. And I have put also an evaluation sheet if they want to know where they are now, because it's only when you know where you are now that you can move forward and achieve your dreams. So they can get a free evaluation, and then book with me for everything is on that Mars Venus Coach Rani website, MarsVenusCoachRani.com website. So they get a free evaluation, and then we have a 30 minutes evaluation with me. So this is the gifts I give to your audience, and thank you so much to both of you for inviting me, for being part of this beautiful community of Into Your Life, and I wish you both a lot of success in everything that you do. Thank you, and thank you to the audience. It's great being with you all today.
Thank you. And all your links will be in the description. So anybody who's listening, they can just click on the links and access those free gifts. Thank you. And again, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom, sharing your knowledge and your energy with us today. It's been really wonderful to hear your story and just get to know you a little bit. And for our listeners, what have you got from today? Did Rani's story resonate with you? Do you feel that you've got wounds that need healing? Or have you healed your wounds? We would love to know your story, love to know where you are on your journey. Has some of the therapies and modalities that Rani talked about resonated with you and you're thinking, oh, I could really do with some? That sounds like the next step that I need to take. Whatever you've got from this, hopefully it's been something that can add that little bit more to have more in your life. And until next time, we'll talk to you soon. Bye.